Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 5 of the Vuelta a España. Today's stage is the team time trial, 24.1 kilometers. I'll call it about 15 miles in length. This stage is going to be very good entertainment throughout kilometer 0 when the first team Lotto Destiny goes off, all the way to FDJ when we're talking about David Gaudu and the race leader's red jersey leaves. Every one of these teams is going to highlight, because when we look at the course and we see it's completely flat, what you really want to look at is that it's very technical. You have teams of 8. Some guys have lost some teams. Certainly, Visma-Lease bike. They lost Zingle back there when he crashed a long time ago, so he's out of the picture, so they have 7. But most riders are on the course with 8 guys. When you're on the TT bike, they're very complicated to handle through tight technical corners, and certainly in the team time trial, it's much different than the individual time trial because you're at your maximum, your eyes are red, you cannot necessarily predict what the rider in front of you is going to do if he's at his maximum and he starts moving left, right, center. He's moving all over the time, and when you start throwing in lefts, rights, roundabouts, and all kinds of difficult sections on today's course, especially between 8 kilometers and 7 kilometers to go, it's crazy technical there. It's going to be an exciting stage 5 here at the Vuelta a España. Now, Lotto Destiny, as I said, they're the first riders to leave the ramp. They get out there, and if I back the film up and show you guys when they're warming up, they're wearing all their cool vests, and I don't quite understand what Lotto Destiny is going to be trying to do on today's stage 5 of the Vuelta, because they don't have anyone on general classification. Lars is their top guy at just over 6 minutes back, and when you see him warming up, there's just a bunch of chaos here. You can literally take all this chaos, have this as a rest day for Lotto Destiny, because they're not going to win the team time trial. There's no doubt about that. With UAE Team Emirates, with Visma-Lease bike, with Lidl-Trek out here, with Bora-Hansgrohe, with Movistar riders. Can Movistar riders put in a show on today's race? Quite possibly. They've been known to do it from time to time, but of course they're missing Enric Mas and their big GC guys, but they have Cepeda. And when we look at Cepeda at 16 seconds down on the general classification, take a look at Tom Pidcock. He's sitting about top 5, and then go all the way back to down to 24th, and all these riders are 16 seconds back from Gaudu and Jonas Vingegaard. Behind them, you got, behind Jonas Vingegaard and Gaudu, that is, you start looking, you got Ciccone there, and you got Egan Bernal. But we're still talking 14 seconds for Egan Bernal, 16 for everyone else. So a lot of teams have reasons to be racing, but Lotto Destiny, I don't get this. Especially in a team time trial, it's just too technical, too difficult. Anything can possibly happen. Now, as Lotto Destiny's out there, when they're going through the first time checks with about 7.8 kilometers into the course, of course they got the first time check because they're the first team off. But we start getting into 8 kilometers to go when they're coming near the second time check, and we look at Viviani as he comes out of this right corner and the group's splitting in half. Well, let's back it up, because this is the dangerous section. There's lefts, rights, turns, and a hard left before the right where Viviani split, where we look and we see the half of the group of Lotto Destiny going up the road, and Viviani's in the second half, so he's got to dig super deep to make this happen. Remember, this is their sprinter. So if your sprinter's having some problems going through the corners, you know it's going to be crazy dangerous for everybody. As Viviani's closing up the gap there, he blows, and then he's got to have his teammates come through and close the gap. Lotto Destiny across the finish line, 25 minutes, 52 seconds, with an average kilometer speed of about 56 kilometers an hour. They're at 55.9. So that's what I'm talking about. 8 guys riding on a technical course that you got to average 56 kilometers an hour on, and you see Viviani, a sprinter out there. I don't think Lotto Destiny should have did this, but they did. They're in the hot seat. They won't hold it for too long, of course, but we go back and we start looking at Jayco Lula leaving the ramp. We see them come through the first time check. They're 9 seconds up. But then Jayco Lula with Ben O'Connor, that's trying to go for general classification here, they blow up at the finish, and they'll cross the line 15 seconds down in 3rd place. So Ben O'Connor's going to have to make up a little bit of time if Jayco Lula's losing time to Lotto Destiny here on stage 5. Next team up, we want to pay attention to Lidl-Trek. Lidl-Trek's Mads Pedersen and Ciccone. Both these 2 riders have come up short on stage victories. Both these 2 riders, I have said, were knuckleheads with the tactics that they employed on stage 2 and stage 3. And I called Mads Pedersen a knucklehead on stage 1 because he's wearing shoe covers when it was nice and sunny out. But when they leave the ramp, of course, we're going to see a show, because this team is certainly powerful. And if they can go good on today's stage, they might be able to get out of the knucklehead corner. But right now, for 4 stages in a row, I've called these guys knuckleheads. So for the beginning here, the Vuelta a España, Lidl-Trek are holding the record. Now, as we see Lidl-Trek coming up to the first time check, they've already dropped Garrett Horner, and they're 8 seconds up on the fastest time when we look back at Jayco being in second place. But Lotto Destiny, remember, finished in front of Jayco. So Lidl-Trek's got to throw some power down on the pedals. We come around that 8-kilometer mark when there's a little bit of a bump. We see that bump. We go into the right turn, and as we're coming out of the right, take a look at Dan Uhl. Dan Uhl's looking right over his shoulder, and he has Mads Pedersen, if I remember correctly, and Ciccone. Ciccone is the GC leader, sitting top 5 on the general classification. So as Dan Uhl gets his hands off the TT bullhorns there, he's got to drop down to the bullhorn, gets him off the TT bars, and they're coming into the hard left turn. Okay, this is the same section where Viviani was having some problems, but just a few corners up the road. Now we're coming into this left turn. Dan Uhl's having all kinds of problems. Luckily, he pulls it out and avoids crashing Ciccone. Now they fly, they go into the next time check, and we see them up 13 seconds in first place here on stage 5. Now, that drama's not over just yet, though. Remember, they're down to 7 riders. We saw Garrett Horner dropping off, and they're coming into this left bend, and it's Verona. Verona's pulling off. He's kind of on the right side. As they're getting ready to start this left, he grabs a little bit too much brake, and the Lidl-Trek riders got to straighten it out. He goes straight through this left turn, hits the, it's not really a fence, it's more of a banner there that's highlighting that everybody needs to go to the left there, but Verona hasn't made the left, so that means Lidl-Trek's dropping down to 6 riders right now, as the Spanish rider Verona's coming off to the side of the road. His bike goes up in the air, just a hair, the back wheel. He'll be okay. We see the second car stopping for him from Lidl-Trek. Up front, the rest of the riders, they're throwing down hard all the way into the finish, and we start seeing them losing riders back there. We see Baggioli's missing. We see Julian Bernard starts getting dropped off the back. So Lidl-Trek's coming into the final 1K. Finally gets to be a little bit less technical here, but not completely without its technical abilities needed, because after 1K, they go into the roundabout to the right. They drop into 500 meters. It's a hard left turn. Then they punch it out of the left turn. They got about 30 seconds, still showing green at this moment with about 125 meters to go. As Lidl-Trek power all the way to the line, they're going to be 18 seconds up on the best time at 25:35 with an average speed of 56.5 kilometers an hour. Lidl-Trek put on a show. They're going to be in the hot seat as we see Lotto Destiny leaving the hot seat there after a little bit of time of thinking something good might happen on today's stage. They're out. Lidl-Trek's in. Next team up is Movistar. As Movistar leaves the ramp, they have Cepeda. He's sitting 16 seconds back too, so Movistar have to take this race serious, unlike Lotto Destiny. As Movistar's out on the course, they're only out there for a few moments when we come into this right turn and we see Orluis. Orluis Alar is their sprinter. He's coming through this right turn. Remember, he's their sprinter. Sprinters are supposed to be able to turn. He's at the front, and right behind Orluis Alar there, we see second place. That's Michael Hessman backing off the gap as they're coming through this right turn, because Orluis must be going fast. As we go around with the camera there from the motorcycle around the right turn, we see Orluis is off to the side of the road in the bushes or the grass, whatever you want to call it or describe it, and his foot has to come out of the pedals because he's got the pole right there. He avoids the pole, gets his foot onto the concrete there as he gets his TT bike going again, and he's at the back of the Movistar train. They're going to wait up for Lewis because, like I said, this is early in the stage. You certainly want to wait up for Lewis if he's a strong TT specialist. I don't know exactly if he is, but once we look at the finish, when we got 4 riders from Movistar coming to the finish 7 seconds back from the time of Lidl-Trek, well, it was a good idea to wait for Orluis Alar because clearly he's a good time trialist. But Cepeda's in this group, so they've protected this general classification here for Movistar so far through stage 5 of the Vuelta a España. Next team up is Team Ineos. They have Egan Bernal sitting on the general classification, 4th at 14 seconds back from Jonas and David Gaudu in the race leader's red jersey. When Ghana leaves the ramp, he's leading out his teammates there, and they start getting into a rhythm quickly, so we'll see them come through the first time check 10 seconds up from the time of Lidl-Trek. As they keep powering on the pedals, we go into about 16 kilometers to go, and the camera switches to Premier Tech. As we see up front, there's a protest. As the 8 riders from Premier Tech are coming into the protest, they're only about 3 minutes into their work here on stage 5, and we see the motorcycle up front. He does what? As the police motorcycle sees the banner, he's going to drag the banner along with the protesters there. We all know why they're protesting. Four of the Premier Tech riders are going to shoot through the gap. One gets caught over on the right side there with some more protesters. That holds him up. The other 3 are caught as the protesters get their banner off the police motorcycle and start holding up some more riders. I don't agree with this. I do not agree with this at all. I agree with protesting. I agree with the signs. I understand why you have the signs. You got to feed babies. There's no doubt about that. This needs to be done on the side of the road, not in the middle of the road. Remember, if you're protesting in the middle of the road for every sporting event out there and there's no outside sporting events, guess what? There's no places for you to protest. So if you're going to pick big events to protest at, do it on the side, or any events to protest at, do it on the side, get caught on camera, but do not do it in the middle of the road. Do not cause bodily harm to riders that are doing 60 kilometers an hour on their TT bike. This is ridiculous knuckleheadism, stupidism at its best right here that I could tell you. To have protesters in the middle of the road, the sporting events would leave. You would have no place to protest. Keep it on the side. Keep it safe. Remember, safe protesting is always the best. Premier Tech's going to lose some time right now, and at the finish, when they cross the line, they're going to be about 45 seconds down in 14th place. But we got to back it up because Ineos is out there on the course and they're making some time. When they come into the first time check, I already told you they were 10 seconds up. Now they're coming into the second time check, and these guys are 1 minute back from the time of Lidl-Trek. As Ineos are drilling it on the front, they start dropping riders at about 7 kilometers, just a hair under. They're going to lose 2 riders, and their numbers are getting depleted. Filippo Ganna's flying through the last 1 kilometer. When we see the team coming through the 800-meter roundabout, then we see him coming through the left, and Filippo Ganna's flying through this left corner. They come out with 4 riders at the front. Kwiatkowski's there, Filippo Ganna's there, Egan Bernal there, and Ben Turner's yesterday's stage 4 winner is on the group. They need 4 at the front, and they got 4 right now as Kwiatkowski's driving it. Filippo Ganna is going to take over. They're going to drive all the way into the line, 7 seconds back from the time of Lidl-Trek. So Lidl-Trek still get to celebrate, sitting in the hot seat right now as they've overcome one powerful team being led by Filippo Ganna. Next team to leave the ramp is going to be Bora-Hansgrohe. They got Jai Hindley, 16 seconds back on the general classification, so Bora-Hansgrohe have to put in a magnificent time because they're fighting for the general classification here with multiple riders. As they drop down the ramp, we see them come in the first time check, 5 seconds back from the time of Ineos and then Lidl-Trek. Remember, Ineos had the fastest time at the first time check when they came through, but Lidl-Trek is the team that's in the hot seat. So Bora-Hansgrohe got to stay on the gas full time right now because they're just sitting second on the general classification after the first time check. As Bora-Hansgrohe keep driving, they come into 10.3, 10.5 kilometers ago, and we see a crash. The camera was looking at it from the lower view. It's very hard to tell, but from what I can gather, I would say the first rider, Giovanni, is up there. He moved a little bit to the right, and just behind, Sobrero moved a little bit to the left. They overlapped wheels, and Sobrero goes down hard to the right side of the road. And later, as we see the camera pick up on Sobrero, we see him hit the ground and just start rolling. But first, we see him hit his head as he's coming into the ground. Sobrero is going to be sitting on the side of the road. Mateo's going to need a little bit of time to relax and recover everything as he's got some medical check. But up front, Bora-Hansgrohe have to get back to business because the race has just begun. As we're coming into the second time check for Bora-Hansgrohe, they're 11 seconds back right now. So they got to still keep driving because Jai Hindley's racing for the general classification. Bora-Hansgrohe come into the finish only 3 seconds behind the time of Lidl-Trek in second place. That means they did a fantastic job of recovering from the crash of Sobrero back there. Next team to leave the ramp is UAE Team Emirates. Guys, this team has 2 stars on it. We're talking Almeida and we're talking Ayuso, 16 seconds down on the general classification. As UAE Team Emirates are driving up there, we start seeing them come into the first time check, and they're tied with Team Ineos right now. Now we're talking 0 seconds. So UAE Team Emirates are throwing down as hard as they possibly can with their whole team, drilling it. Ayuso's looking fantastic. Almeida, same scenario. We come into 15 kilometers to go. They lose their first rider, Domin Novak, at about 9 minutes into the race. As we see UAE Team Emirates drilling it into that bump that I talked about with Dan Uhl and Lidl-Trek, we see Ayuso's at the back. He hits the bump. He goes into the right turn, a little bit tight into the right turn, but he holds it upright. They come out of that right. They're setting up for the left. The left is the Dan Uhl corner there where Dan Uhl almost took out Ciccone. They come up to the next time check, 5 seconds back from Lidl-Trek. That means they're still got time to make up. As they're drilling it on the front, they come into the next left bend. This bend right here, this is the Lidl-Trek corner, second Lidl-Trek corner, because this is the Verona corner, but we see the riders all make it through. They go a little bit further into 5, just under kilometers ago. We see Jay Vines the first to come off, followed by Großschartner behind him. Ivo Oliveira gets lost, and then once we come into 1K and just underneath, we see UAE Team Emirates drilling it out of the 500 meters. Once they're coming up to the line, they're 9 seconds faster the time of Lidl-Trek with a time of 25:26 and an average speed of 56.8 kilometers an hour to put them in the hot seat. Okay, we still got a big boy team behind them. It's called Visma-Lease bike. When we back the camera up, we see Visma-Lease bike leaving the ramp. We know it's Jorgensen on the front. He's drilling it. My man Victor Campenaerts is in the team, and Jonas Vingegaard is tied on the general classification with David Gaudu. So Visma-Lease bike certainly want to put it on the show here on stage 5. This is where they start showing their strength. As Visma-Lease bike's driving it on the front, they come through the first time check 3 seconds back on the time of Ineos. Once they start getting into rhythm, they start drilling it. But guys, they start losing time. They come into the second time check 18 seconds down on the time of Lidl-Trek. They come into about 2.5 kilometers ago. They start losing riders. They're down to 5 riders right now as Jonas Vingegaard's there. My man Victor Campenaerts, Ben Toulet, Jorgensen, and Wilco Kelderman's part of the Visma-Lease bike train. They're drilling it into 1 kilometer to go through the roundabouts, come into the left turn, and as they come out of the left turn, it's going to start showing even time as they're coming down the straightaway, so you know they're not going to win today's race. But how much time will they lose? Jonas Vingegaard's racing for the general classification, so they keep driving it all the way to the line and then lose 8 seconds to the time of UAE Team Emirates when it's all said and done. They had a good ride, but not a great ride. They lost a little bit of time at the beginning, a lot of time at the second time check at 18 seconds, and then brought it all the way back to just 8 seconds at the finish. So you got to believe they're trying to play some tactical games of trying to save energy. I don't quite understand how you can predict ahead of time where you can save energy. In a team time trial, I think the only way to ride it, the rider on the front has to go as hard as they can. And if you have 8 riders, when you pull off and you're the first rider, you got to pull off and you got to try to recover in time to get back onto that 7th rider's wheel back there. The only places that I think you can save time is when you're sitting on the wheel before you're coming into the corners. The first rider can back off and rest a little bit, but you have to be completely ready to come out of the corners at 100%. I don't quite understand how you can save time and try to predict how the race is going to go. Everybody needs to be basically riding 100% when they're pulling on the front, with the exception of when you're going through the corners and especially coming out. When you're going into the corner, you go a little bit easy. When you come out of the corner, you look back, you make sure your teammates are there, and then you got to punch it because everybody's got to be going hard when they're riding the front. Biggest difference is if you have a rider that's not 100% on form like the rider on the front. In my case, if I gave you an example, it's like riding with Fabian Cancellara in the 2013 Vuelta a España. He knew that he has to pull longer than the weaker riders, and he knows that when he starts his pull, he has to start smooth, but then bring it up to his top level and hold it there for a longer period of time so riders can recover from behind. With the exception of that kind of strategy and the strategy of once you go down a long descent, which doesn't exist on today's stage 5, but if it did, when you're going down a longer descent, of course, once you get up to maximum speed, you stay in the aero tuck position and you save your legs until it starts to slow the bike down from the descent, either easing up or the headwind slowing you down, then you get back to 100%. You just got to save enough energy to be able to get onto the back of the train when you slot back, because team time trials are vicious. Now, I told you, Visma-Lease bike sitting second on the general classification with their time of 8 seconds back from UAE Team Emirates, but we still have one team out there. It's the race leader's red jersey, and it's David Gaudu from FDJ. They're drilling it out there. They're down to 7 riders to start with, as Guillaume Martin was one of the first riders to abandon the Vuelta a España. But when we start looking at their time at the second time check, they're 45 seconds off. So, of course, we know once we come into the last K, it's time for UAE Team Emirates to start celebrating because they won today's stage. but Jonas Vingegaard, when it's all said and done, after we see FDJ cross the line, when they lose 24 seconds there to UAE Team Emirates, well, Jonas Vingegaard's back in the race leader's red jersey. He looked a little bit frustrated after the line, or was that just the effort from the team time trial? I'm not sure, but certainly he wasn't happy. When it's said and done, though, he is in the race leader's red jersey. Almeida and Ayuso are 8 seconds back on the general classification. So, guys, throughout the first 5 days of racing here, when it started to look like it's getting a little lopsided with Visma-Lease bike being too strong, with Jonas Vingegaard winning the stage and UAE Team Emirates always seemingly to be a little bit out of place. Now, all of a sudden, after the team time trial, everything seems to have come back together. Visma-Lease bike looks strong. UAE Team Emirates look just as strong because they won today's race. So we got a great battle here at the Vuelta a España in 2025. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys for the first big mountain stage starting on stage 6 tomorrow. Like and subscribe. See you real soon.